Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of As I See It. This is my channel where I talk all things politics and current events. Did you catch any of Cory Booker's speech yesterday and the day before? I was traveling yesterday, so I had it on my phone on YouTube streaming live, and I got to hear a lot of it, and I have quite a few thoughts I want to share with you about it. But what I really want to do in today's video is share with you my favorite portion. It was around 7 hours, 17 or 18, something like that. It took me a long time to find it online. I had to go through a lot of footage to find it, but I want to share with you what I felt was some of the most powerful words in his speech, the ones that affected me the most, brought a tear to my eye as I drove. And I'm going to share it with you now, and we can talk about it as it goes on. So here it goes.
I'm hoping that we could figure out thousands of ignition points where Americans can stand up and do that call to their fellow Americans to do more.
So first of all, I want to say, and I'm going to kind of tune in here throughout this speech of his, I think we are the thousands of ignition points that he's talking about. So let's go on.
I'm not upset at the folks that have been saying to Democratic senators and House members and me and challenging me. I've talked to so many of my constituents who said, you've got to do more, and all of us have to interrogate ourselves. Because like I said at the very beginning of this, at 7 p.m. on Monday night, I said, we have to say to history where we stood when they were coming after our constitutional principles, where we stood when they were threatening judges to impeach them for making just decisions, where we stood when they were taking law firms and threatening their business unless they came and kowtowed to the big leader, where we stood when they were disappearing people from America with the due process that even Anton Scalia said they should have. Where were you when they came after the health care of the disabled, the health care of the children, the health care of the expectant mothers, the health care of seniors? Where were you when they attacked veterans, laying them off for no justifiable reason and attacking the VA services that they rely on? Where were you when we turned our back on Ukraine? Where were you when we turned our back on our alliances? Where were you when they took the economy down with tariffs? When they took the economy down by threatening it so consumer confidence drops? Where were you? How many things are going on before we answer the question, as it says in Hebrew, he ne ni. He ne ni. Behold, Lord, here I am.
So this hasn't even gotten to what I think is the most poignant and important part of this speech, but I think it really got me thinking, where have I been? Where have I been? Many of us have compared this time to the rise of Hitler because we see the similarities. It's not fear-mongering, it's not hyperbole. Those of us who have studied history know that Hitler didn't just one day wake up and all of a sudden millions of Jews were dead. It was a process. It was a process of convincing citizens that he and only he was their savior. It was a process of convincing the German people that the enemy were the Jewish people. It was a process of desensitizing the German people to the mistreatment and the disappearing of and the murder of people. It was a process, a years-long, decades-long process of making people immune to some of the worst atrocities against humankind. And so when we talk about comparing what is going on now to what was going on during the time of Hitler, it is because we see the similarities. We see a president, someone in power in the United States who is doing the exact same things Hitler did in order to enable the killing, the murder of millions of Jewish people. The same thing is happening here. Desensitizing us to pulling people off the streets without due process. Desensitizing us to the the realities of the people who come here risking everything for a better life, painting them as the core, the root of all of our problems. Only I can save you from these wide open borders and these horrible immigrants. It's the same language. It's the same playbook. And so many of us who have been comparing our times to those times when to that time when Hitler rose in power, many of us who are aware and who know our history are saying, well, at least we know we wouldn't have been on the side of Hitler. We know that we would have been the ones to fight, but what are we really doing? What are we really doing? We're calling. Are we stepping out of our comfort zone? Are we protecting people as much as we can? Are we really standing up to the moment? And that's what I'm getting from his speech. Are we really standing up to the moment? Or are we just sitting comfortably on our couches? And I'm talking to myself here as much as anyone else. Sitting behind the laptop, screaming into the void of social media. Maybe making a phone call. Are you guys still calling your representatives every day? I know I'm not. And Cory Booker here is talking about the pressure, though, that his constituents have been putting on him. So we need to keep up that pressure. And I know it's tiring, and I know it's exhausting, and I know I keep saying I'm struggling with energy. But are we really standing up to the moment? I mean, this was speaking directly to me as I drove. What am I doing? Am I doing enough? And the answer for me is no. And so I have to continue. I have to push myself out of my comfort zone. And for me, I don't want to get too much into me personally, but the way I live, I purposely took myself out of society many years ago. So I'm not seeing, I'm not living, I don't have a community. I don't have neighbors who might be affected by this. So I'm not able to go next door and knock on the door and say, hey, are you okay? So for me, I need to find other ways to do that. And it might be the same for you. You might really need to step out of your comfort zone, find ways to really stand in the moment. I'm going out and I'm protesting on Saturday. I have made a choice about my travels and my plans and where I'm going to be, and traveling a half hour out a really bad bumpy road that I'd rather not. I'd rather just stay where I am for another week, but I have made a choice to go out and protest on Saturday. And I've actually recruited a friend to go with me. So I am trying to find ways to meet the moment. But let's get back to his speech. So I just wanted to stop there because are we really, what did he say? Digging deep inside and looking at ourselves, and we really have to ask ourselves, are we meeting the moment? Are we meeting the moment with the amount of importance and intensity that it requires? It's a good question.
And so I confess that I have been imperfect. I confess that I've been inadequate to the moment. I confess that the Democratic Party has made terrible mistakes that have given lane to this demagogue.
I am so impressed with his vulnerability, his willingness to fall on the sword and say, we have not done enough, that I own my part in this. I don't think, has a Democrat admitted that? We have been really angry at our elected officials, and Cory Booker is not my elected official. He's a senator from New Jersey. I was actually happy to see both my senators there, Jackie Rosen and Cortez Masto showed up to ask questions. But the vulnerability here, I think, just speaks volumes to who he is as a human being.
We have to say that we're going to redeem the dream. We're going to dream America anew. We're going to start talking about bold things that don't divide people, that unite people. Bold things that excite the moral imagination of a country to do better, to go higher, that call us together. This is the time where new leaders in our country must emerge. I'm not talking about senators. I'm talking about citizens. This time of despair and darkness doesn't demand more darkness. We don't need to demean and degrade people who disagree with us. This is a time for us to do something bigger than that. Do you think Martin Luther King in Birmingham hated Bull Connor or said, I'm going to defeat this guy by bringing bigger dogs and bigger fire hoses? No. But he did say, we're going to be so creative, we're going to inspire the moral imagination of the nation, we're going to call to the conscience of the country, we're going to excite them about who we could be. When he went to the March on Washington, he didn't stand there and complain about the demagogues. Listen to his speech. He didn't stand there and demean and degrade the governor of Alabama. He didn't stand there and talk down to Bull Connor. No, he stood before the American people and said, it's not what you're against, it's what you're for. I have a dream.
Wow. I've listened to this probably 5 times now, and it still brings a tear to my eye. There is so much power and so much truth in what he said. And I reflect upon my own anger and how I have been channeling it. I've been channeling it all wrong. We are all so angry. Martin Luther King didn't come out with hatred and anger. We are following the lead of our leader. Every time we call a Trump supporter an idiot or ignorant or any of the names, we are becoming him instead of becoming the solution. We need to show the people who supported him that we have the same vision for the country. They have bought in, just like we have. We are no different. I mean, other than like we haven't bought into the lies, we have bought into the anger and the fear-mongering and the paranoia. So if maybe we can reflect a moment on ourselves and realize that in some ways we have fallen for it too. And we need to find a way to come together. We are never going to get through this if we continue with the online name calling and calling out each other names and blaming each other. It's just, and I know it's so hard. We get caught up in the moment, and I know it's so hard. But this really, really resonated with me. What we need to do as the people who, for whatever reason, were not victim to the brainwashing. And I don't feel bad saying that. That's true. I think it is a brainwashing. It is a fear-mongering. Those of us who did not fall into that, for whatever reason, need to show the other side, the other half, the people who voted for him. We need to show them the way out. And we do that by leading by example. My therapist has been telling me for a decade. I told her about a book that I read called The 7 Deadly Sins of Women or something like that. And it's a very angry feminist manifesto, basically. It's very angry. And I told her about it, and she read it, and she said it's very angry, and this is not how we come out of this. This is not how we heal. We heal through matriarchy. And matriarchy is not about meeting the patriarchy with the violence. The patriarchy is about violence. The matriarchy is about healing and community and coming together. And we are never, and I think up until this very moment, I have disagreed with her. And I've been like, no, we have a right to be angry. She's like, yeah, you do have a right to be angry, but violence isn't going to solve anything. Name calling, meeting them where they are on the name calling, bringing us down to that level of Trump's, and I'm going to call it Trump's level. Bringing us down to Trump's level is not going to lead us out of it. We need to lead by example. We need to demonstrate how beautiful it is on the other side. How beautiful it is when everybody has rights, when the economy is growing, when we're not at each other's throats. We need to show them that when everybody has equal rights, the world is not Sodom and Gomorrah. I'm not a Bible scholar, so I don't know, Gomorrah or Sodom. I don't know. But that's what a lot of these people think. You give gay people rights, you give trans people rights, and all of a sudden it's going to be Sodom and Gomorrah. You let immigrants come in and I'm not going to have any jobs. It is our responsibility to keep pointing out the truths behind all of the things that they have been trained to fear. We need to lead by example. We need to lead by example. not by going down into the cesspool and mudslinging with them. That is not how we reach them. That is not how we make change. We cannot slide backward with them. We need to show them the way forward. This speech is so powerful, and I'm just so emotional about it. Let's listen to the rest. And this was around hour 17 or 18.
We have to redeem the dream. We have to excite people again. He, in the highest office of our land, wants to divide us against ourselves, wants to make us afraid, wants to make us fear so much that we're willing to violate people's fundamental rights. We're willing to go after the speech on college campuses. We're willing to go after law firms, go after the freedom of the press. Don't let him do that. Don't become like him. Be an American that says, I look to the future and I'm excited. Yes, things are tough right now. They're hard, they're scary, they're hurting, but we can overcome this. Our American history, if it's nothing else, American history, if it's nothing else, it is a perpetual testimony to the achievement of impossible things against impossible odds. We are a nation that is great, not because of the people that are trying to whitewash our history. To remove great people, Native Americans, black people, and women from our military websites. I don't want a Disneyfication of our history. I don't want to whitewash history. I don't want to homogenize history. Tell me the wretched truth about America, because that speaks to our greatness.
Wow. Wow. So while MAGA and Project 2025 want to whitewash our history because they feel like by talking freely and openly about the experience of anyone in this country who is not a straight white man, by talking about the experience of women and Native Americans and black men and black women and, Japanese and anybody who is not a straight white man, they feel like talking about their experiences and being open and honest about that history is in some way an attack on them. And I love what Cory Booker just said. We know it's not an attack, it's the truth. But what it really shows is how strong we are. Yeah, those terrible things happened in our history. Terrible things have happened in the history of almost every country, but we overcame it by working together. And in another part of his speech, he talked about it wasn't the people in Congress who made these huge changes. There's a brilliant part. Actually, maybe I'll see if I can find it again and put it here. There's a brilliant part where he says, all the white men in Congress didn't get together and say, hey, let's give women the right to vote. Yes, okay, on 3, let's give women the right to vote. It was not the men in Congress who did that. It was the people like you and me in the streets who did it.
Change does not come from Washington. It comes to Washington by the people who demand it. I said this earlier. Do you think that we got suffrage in this country because a bunch of men on this Senate floor right here put their hands in and said, hey, fellas, on the count of 3, women get the right to vote. Ready? 1, 2, 3, go. No, that's not how it happened. It happened because of Alice Paul. She was a young person from New Jersey. She broke with the course of human events. Alice Paul, one of my greatest heroes, you know what she did? She caused a heck of a lot of good trouble. Necessary trouble. She is the first American ever, young American in her early 20s, the first American ever to protest in front of the White House. She broke with the older, more mature suffrage organizations and went to the White House and did what she called a silent retreat, protest. She held up signs quoting President Woodrow Wilson's own words about freedom and equality and say, aren't they true for me?
It was the people in the streets who created the Underground Railroad to protect people who wanted to escape slavery. It was not Congress who did it. It was Harriet Tubman and all the other people who served on the Underground Railroad. It is people, everyday people like you and me who are doing extraordinary things. Powerful. We cannot keep expecting the people in Washington to do it for us. That has never been how this country has worked. Change, as Cory Booker said earlier, has always come from the streets. It's always come from citizens forcing Washington's hand, literally forcing people in power to make laws that we, the people on the streets, have demanded. And that is the beauty of our history, the power of the people. And when you think about it that way, then you know why these oligarchs and these dictators want to erase our history. They want us to forget how strong and how resilient and how powerful we are. We have the power to make change. We can't continue to just sit here and call and yell at them to make the change. It's up to us. It's always been up to us.
I'm not going to be a politician that's going to say, we are going to do more for you. I'm going to be a politician. I'm going to be a leader that demands more from America.
He's demanding more from all of us. This is what it's going to take. It's going to take all of us. So, wow. I mean, the fact that he broke a record by Strom Thurmond, the racist who, I can't, just think about that for a minute. The racist who stood on the floor for 24 hours in order to not give people rights. We need to be as strong as them. We need to be as insistent and as consistent as the pro-life people. We need to be a pain in the ass. We need to rise. Think about how many times you have seen a message, a MAGA message, a fear-mongering message. Think about every time you turn on social media, every time you turn on the news, every time you talk to a Trump supporter. Think about all the times you have heard something about pro-life, killing the babies, the immigrants that are stealing jobs. Think about all the times you have heard that stuff. We need to be the positive voice of truth and progress and hope. As many times as you hear a message like that, let's say you put out a positive message 10 times for every one lie you hear, put out the truth 10 times. Whether that's 10 days in a row on your social media, 10 times, you go to the store and you're like, hey, I thought the price was supposed to be lower. Whatever it takes, we need to be the foot soldiers. It's our turn to grab the torch. It's our turn to show what this country can be if we stop letting the rich, powerful, greedy among us control us with fear. Fear of one another. That's what they're doing. They have made them afraid of their fellow and sister Americans. Fellow sister and they Americans. When they're really the ones who are causing all the pain and all the trouble. So that's how I see it today. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts below.